I'm Dennis Wirth of the Comedy Kitchen, and you've just entered the oven. Ha ha! Welcome to episode 42 of the Comedy Kitchen. For today's guest, I have Robert Glancy, better known as Big Bob. So, how did you get the nickname Big Bob? Because everybody in TV land wants to know.
My friends' kids all started calling me Big Bob. I was bigger than their dad, probably the biggest person they knew, and it just stuck. I couldn't get it to go away, so I'm Big Bob.
It's a rarity I get somebody on the Comedy Kitchen bigger than me. So this is a treat for me right here today, Big Bob. All right, today we are going to be making some chicken and a spicy saute sauce. So your taste buds tingling?
Yes, sir.
You're ready, all right.
Oh, yeah.
It is the Comedy Kitchen. Before we get going with the food, folks out there, tell them, how'd you get started out in comedy?
How did I get started? I kept doing plays that kept getting comedies. I was in, had the lead in Barefoot in the Park. I was in Tea House of the August Moon. 3 Bags Full by Chekhov. They're all comedies, and I got used to the laughs and just kept, I started writing my own jokes, and that's how I did it. I went to an open mic night at Stitches back in, I don't know, late 80s, and they told me drop all the street jokes and keep all the new stuff and keep coming back.
It's addictive, isn't it?
Yes,
Once you get somebody laughing, you can't wait to get them laughing again, can you?
Yes, sir.
All right, we got some vegetable oil, so we're going to get that going while we get going. So how long have you been doing comedy for now?
Since 1989, with a pretty good break after 9/11.
Okay, so looking back, if you had to say, what's one of your favorite memories in comedy, doing comedy?
My favorite memories doing comedy.
The one that stands out to you? That was the moment as compared to all the rest?
I did a movie with a guy named Bob Marley and Tony V called Mint Condition that I've never even seen it, but shooting it was fun. We'd be shooting the scenes, and I would crack up laughing at the scene. They'd have to shoot it again because I was laughing.
A couple of legends right there you're on with. How do you do a movie and not watch it? Why wouldn't you?
I never saw it. I don't
track
know
it down. I'd have to track it down and see. I'd be what? But that's good. All right. So, what have you been up to lately in comedy? Anything good or anything we should know?
I've been really busy lately in Portland and Maine and all over Boston, Massachusetts, and in New Hampshire. I've just been everywhere they'll let me get on stage because after I got better from being sick from 9/11, I just wanted to get back telling jokes.
Anywhere you can make people laugh, that's where you go, right?
Yes, sir.
So who does the cooking in your house?
My mother.
Your mom? Oh, my mom's in there. Give it up for all moms. My mom's in the audience. Gotta love mom. All right, but so what's one of your favorite dishes mom makes for you?
Mom makes a great spaghetti.
Spaghetti? Oh, it's one of my favorites right there. A little spaghetti with the meatball, sausage, garlic bread. So, do you dabble in cooking any? Has she taught you anything? Or?
I know how to cook. I can feed myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I've actually had girlfriends before where I had to do the cooking.
Yeah, well, mom was too good of a cook, in case you can't tell. But hey, she got me into food, got me into eating, and that's still why everybody thinks I do the cooking show. I only like to cook. I love to eat, Bob. I love to eat.
That's a good reason.
People like to cook more than me. Nobody likes to eat more than me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I mean, you brought it up a couple times. I know we saw the shock of 9/11 on television, but you were actually right there at the scene. So bring us through your experience.
I was working on a power plant in Newington, New Hampshire when it happened, and as soon as something like that happens, I just knew they needed iron workers down there. And my buddy from Local 7 called the local down there, and they needed people, so we went down. And I went down to volunteer, but we ended up getting paid, and I stayed for a couple of months. You know?
Really?
But I wanted to get in on the rebuild because it was going to be the prestige job of this century, and I never got to work the rebuild because I got sick. But yeah, it insulted me that they attacked my country.
Yeah, it was insulted the horror of the few people that attacked the country, but then when you looked at the millions that ran to help once it did happen, it showed you there's more good in the world than there is bad. But what was the shock? I mean, just seeing it on TV, I was like, I can't believe this has happened. I mean, when you first looked at the site, what was the first thought that ran through your head?
I couldn't believe it. I told my buddy, because there's jobs you go on that are dangerous, I says, at any point you want to leave, let me know, we're out of here.
This is the one.
It was that dangerous just to look at. And we had to move out of the way while they brought a body out, and I mean, it was a nasty job.
Something that'll stick with you the rest of your life.
I'm a native New Yorker. I was born in Queens. And my mother always talked about this plane that hit the Empire State Building when I was a kid, and when she was a little girl, it happened. And it was a small plane, though. And I guess, I don't know if anybody got killed or not, but when it hit, the first thing I did was call my mother and say, hey, a plane hit the World Trade Center. And she had been sleeping, so when I called her the second time, I said, is it on the news yet? She said, oh yeah, it's on. And then, oh my God, another plane hit right when I was on the phone with her. I said, if anything nuclear happens, let me know, I'll come home.
Yeah, but I mean, I know you talked about a little bit of the horror of it, but I mean, we talked a little bit off air where you said you had the best doctors, you had the best meals, you had, so talk a little bit, what was the camaraderie like dealing with it?
You know, it was, the people that I was working with were all iron workers. They were all professionals, very professional. Right. And they treated us like gold. I can remember going in, like, because I got to work at 2 in the morning. We went into this club one time to have a drink, and the place was packed at 3 in the morning. And they let us drink as we were leaving. Everybody in the club came up to shake our hand, and apparently because of the pile, we smelled like death. I mean, it was nasty. But they all wanted to shake our hands and hug us, but they waited till we were done, because they didn't want to bother us. And you know, we didn't want to bother them because they're having dinner. I knew we were just got out of work, but people were so nice. It was unbelievable. We stayed at some of the nicest hotels in New York. We stayed, they had the best chefs in the world cooking for us. If somebody got hurt, they had the best doctors just waiting to help us. And just walking around the street, people would come up and shake your hand. And I mean, I'm walking through Times Square and people going, hey, Maine, like they knew I was from Maine.
Yeah, right. They knew, yeah. It just goes to show you, something bad happens, the best will come out to fix it. You know, you don't let it happen. All right, and we can't make chicken without what?
Chicken.
Chicken, that's it. All right, so we're going to get this open right here. Or at least I'm going to try to, because I don't have many fingernails. But, well, actually, you know what? Mom was in action, and I asked her for the small chunks, but they didn't have any, so she improvised, got us some big chunks. So we're going to cut these up. So we'll throw one on your cutting board, throw one on my cutting board, grab a knife right up there in the block, maybe one of the bottom ones there. It's a big one. There you go. Maybe cut those into 4 quarters, if you would, please.
4 quarters. I can do that. I'm wearing this bib because I look good in everything I eat.
See that? Because, you know, we'll make Mom proud here today, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to see you cooking on the Comedy Kitchen and say, that's my son. But what are some of your hot spots? You're residing up in Maine nowadays, correct?
Yes, sir. I live in Kittery.
Okay. What are some of your hot spots you go up there to eat some good eating?
Bob's Clam Hut's right up the street from my house.
Clams?
That's a pretty famous place and really good food. I love DeMillo's restaurant in Portland.
Okay.
That's why I took my mother there for Mother's Day.
What's their specialty?
Any kind of seafood. I like the filet mignon.
Maine seafood, that all makes sense.
I like the filet mignon, but when I took my mom there, there was a rainbow. The boats, it rained, we got a shower, then the rainbow, and the boats were all rocking. My mom still talks about
the scenery right there in the ocean. Now, this is very hot, so take your strips very carefully. Set them in there without getting burned. So we don't want no burns here in the Comedy Kitchen.
Whoops, there you go.
So you got to be careful.
Yes, sir. Whoops, I got that one on the other one. There we go.
Because we're in television time here, Bob. We're not in real time.
Okay.
We got to get things going here.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now. Whoa. All right, right next to you there, you got in the bag of green pepper. You want to pull that out, maybe cut that up for us into some stripes while our chicken is cooking up here.
Yeah.
And as you do that,
yes, sir.
I have got an onion over here in this bag, and I'm going to cut this onion up. And as we're doing this, I know some nights are better than others in comedy. Some nights are great and everything goes well, and other nights you hit the drunks, you hit the hecklers, something crazy happens. What's one of the craziest things ever happened to you? And we've had some crazy stories here on the Comedy Kitchen, but we'll see if you can top it. What's the craziest thing ever happened to you in comedy?
I have 2 stories. Both of them happened in Old Orchard Beach. One was, I was again doing a show with Bob Marley, and I had a heckler that was in the back of the room, and I slammed him. Then another heckler, and I slammed him, and then there was another heckler over there, and I slammed him. It was the same guy that was drunk staggering through the room.
Oh,
and
really?
I didn't realize it was the same guy until he was about ready to get up on my stage and he wanted to fight with me. And I'm going, And dude, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not going to get beat up too. So if you come up here, we're going to fight. And
Don't get paid enough to get into a fist fight.
No, the bouncers realized he wasn't part of the show, and they came and got him.
You're a business.
And I asked who wanted to walk me to my car after the show.
You thought it was a different guy each time, right?
Yes, sir.
That's
And then
perfect.
another one at the same town, but a different club. There was the audience was across a moat, like there was a floor below us with about a 20-foot gap before you got to the audience.
Never played a moat before. Huh?
Well, yeah, and they were all smiling, but they weren't laughing. They hadn't been educated how to behave for comedy.
Okay.
And I was new, and I got mad at them. They started laughing at that, but, you know, I was going, this isn't TV. You know, you're not looking at your TV at home. I can't hear you. And I got mad, and I went out in the car and cried. And then I went back in and got my money because that was the hardest work I did. When they love you, it's easy. When they don't like you, you're working.
Every night's different in comedy. That's half the fun, though. If it was the same night every night, you wouldn't have fun.
I got to ask you, what size do you want these?
Just some strips, like,
All right.
there you go, quarter-inch strips would be good.
Yep. Well, yeah, it's all part of the learning process with comedy.
Sure, if every night was the same, then it would get boring. It never gets boring.
That guy moving through the crowd, though, and I thought it was a different person every time, and the crowd was loving it.
Yeah, I did a show one time, and I had some guy heckle me, and literally for a half hour straight, I had to tell this guy off for a half hour straight. After I got done the show, I asked the guy who promoted the show, why didn't security or somebody go take care of this guy? He's like, well, everybody was cracking up so hard with you telling him off. I'm like, do you think I showed up here to tell off a drunk for a half hour? Is that why you think I do comedy? But some people just don't get it, you know?
You know, when I was before I got into comedy, I was that guy who had a couple too many drinks and thought I was helping the show. So I'm a little more tolerant with people like that, but you're really not helping the show because tomorrow night they're going to be doing a show and you're not going to be there to help them.
Right.
So
you didn't practice your routine to go to deal with a drunk for all. That's
Right.
good. We got plenty there. We got more than enough, so that's good. All right, Bob.
Yes, sir.
We have a section of the show. It is called Funny Food Questions. Are you ready for a funny food question?
Okay, I guess.
You guess you're ready? You sound confident, Bob.
Yeah.
All right, let's
I have
do
no
it.
idea what I'm in for here.
All right, Bob.
Yes.
If you went to the grocery store,
Yes.
keep in mind you're at the grocery store, and you came home with some pet sweat, what do you think you'd be coming home with?
Pet sweat. Got no idea.
Take a wild guess, no?
Okay, maybe some sort of drink. That's my best guess.
Some sort of drink? Well, let's take a look up here. You'd be right. You'd be coming with some water. Pet sweat water.
Wonderful.
And, you know, I'm not in charge of marketing over there at the water company, but I'm not sure how much water they're selling calling it pet sweat. Would you drink the pet sweat? Somebody handed you a bottle of pet sweat. Would you drink it?
I may not.
All right, that's an honest answer for you right there. I think there's better names you could come up with water for the pet sweat, but different countries have different cultures,
I
Bob.
saw the different language on the
So
bottom of
possibly it's a big hit pet sweat somewhere else. That's what they want to drink. I don't even know. All right, here's what we're going to do next. You remember in school when you made Elmer's glue for little art projects?
that. Yes, sir.
All right, we're going to take some of the flour in that bag, put it in the bowl, then we're going to take some water, mix up like it looks like a little bit of Elmer's glue for us there.
Okay.
We got things running around here in the comedy kitchen. All right. This is great.
How much am I making here?
Just a little bit more than that. That's good right there.
All right.
So it makes it not too thin, not too thick, just a little bit right in the middle there. And we will be good.
Can I use the smiley space?
You can
face
use
spoon?
any one you want. But, you know, everybody does go for the smiley face spoon because, you know,
I'll use the other one.
it is the comedy kitchen and you gotta like to laugh, right? See the smiley face. I'm gonna drain our chicken here while you're doing that.
All righty.
And as we're doing this, when you were young and you laughed and you thought about doing comedy, who were some of the mainstream comics that inspired you to want to?
One of the funniest people I ever heard was Richard Pryor.
The Godfather.
When I was in the military, we had a section of the boat that the African Americans stayed in, and there was a guy talking while I was making a round, and I heard him talking, and everybody's laughing, and I stood on the other side of the partition until I couldn't stand it anymore, and I walked around. I said, "All right, who's talking?" And it was Richard Pryor, and I can't even say the name of the album that he did because it's not politically correct anymore. But
We all know.
it was one of the funniest albums I have ever heard, and he's one of the funniest people I ever heard.
He changed comedy. It was a tame thing before him, and he showed. You don't hold back. You don't have to be tame. You can let it go, man.
When I was a young kid, I'll be honest with you, I know he's in trouble now, but Bill Cosby was
You can't argue what the guy did in comedy. You can argue his personal life. You can't argue his comedy.
Yeah.
He was a comedic genius. But back then, and even today, a lot of people, you don't work clean, you don't get booked. There's only certain spots that'll book. And Richard Pryor showed, you know, I'm going to do it my way, and it's going to be funny. And
He did a
be
movie-
so good they can't book you. You know, he was so good at what he did, they couldn't ignore the guy.
I remember when he had his TV show, and I'm going, who gave him this TV show? He had 13, they promised him 13 shows, he did 4, and the 4th one, they blocked out about 2/3 of it, just the screen would just go black.
Sure.
It was funny, I don't know.
Got some minced garlic here.
I might need to make this a little thicker, is that thick enough?
That's looking good right there,
All
actually.
right.
So you got the magic touch. I'm going to put a half a teaspoon of minced garlic in our
All right, well, there's
frying
that.
pan right here. We're going to saute that up a little bit.
And I saw Rodney Dangerfield. This man is hilarious, but I saw him at his own club in New York City, Dangerfield's. But he did a show in Portland, Maine once in 1977 where a guy was laughing so hard he had a heart attack.
Really?
And he didn't die, but Rodney
Not the
was,
response you're going for, but
no,
that's
but Rodney
laughter,
was giving
man.
the EMTs a hard time for interrupting his set.
Hey, don't mess with Rodney,
but
man.
when comedians say, "Oh, I had a killer set," it's like that's what I gauge
Little
a
bit of
killer
water.
set by. And so, unless somebody had a heart attack or something flew out of somebody's mouth or something, it wasn't really a killer set, you know.
You know, a lot of people talk about Rodney, and one of the things I like to bring up is that he really gave back to comedy. He was a godfather, a genius in comedy. He brought us Sam Kinison, he brought us Roseanne Barr, brought us Louis Anderson. He gave back so much. I always thought that was cool. I'm going to add a few of my onions. You want to add a few of your green peppers there?
Sure. You know what else Rodney did too was he had a little lapse in his faith in his career, and he took a break
good.
and went out and was doing siding out in Long Island, and
Really?
took about a 3-year break, and then he went back.
I think
And
I
that's
was
when
a
he came up with
salesperson or
his
something,
I can't get no respect, and after that he just
He
took
just
right
took off after
Yeah.
that, right? All right, so can you grab a half a teaspoon over there if you can find one?
Half a teaspoon we got.
You can
What's
open that up.
That's a
And we're
1
gonna put in-
teaspoon. All right, we'll go with a half is an 8. Oh yeah, there we go.
Add our
That
chicken
says
here.
half a tablespoon.
Got our vegetables and our chicken.
A quarter. I don't think we have a half. I have 2 quarters. How's that?
You got 2 quarters? You know what? 2 quarters will work. Maybe I stole the half of the Mr.
want 2 quarters
So
of-
you can just open it up there. You don't have to shake it in there.
All right. And that goes in.
2 quarters make a half. You know your math.
Yeah.
See, you went to school. You're an educated man. That's always good.
You know, it's amazing the number of people who say they can't do math, but try to cheat them out of a nickel.
And then they
You want
find out.
that in there?
Yeah,
Spread
right
it around.
Yeah. Here you go. Perfect.
There's one.
A little bit more water here.
There you go.
And that is
That's
wonderful.
A half. All right.
All right, so we talked about the mainstream comics on the local scene. Who are some of your favorite comics on the local scene here to work with?
Oh man, I really like. We were just talking about it earlier. Kristen O'Brien.
Okay.
Tony V he's a local in Boston, but he's a
Legend.
legend, yeah. And him and Steve Sweeney both were and Jimmy Dunn.
Godfathers.
All guys that I've worked with and
big names, yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed working with them.
Sure.
Yeah, I could keep going. You want me to keep going, rattle off names? I could do that.
All right, but those are, we got a little bit of sesame oil. I'm going to put that in right here. A couple splashes of sesame oil. All right, Bob.
Yes, sir.
We actually have a mascot here on the Comedy Kitchen. His name is Bobo Banana. He's our
Bobo Banana.
banana on the street. He's out at local restaurants doing food reviews. And, you know, you talked about some of your, favorite local comics to work with in comedy. And, other than a few comics you may have had words with, we're all one big comedy family, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, have you met Amy T yet, comedian?
Yes, I have. I've
All
worked
right,
with her.
Amy T is an absolute sweetheart.
Yes, she
and
is.
she owns her own restaurant, the Breakfast Cafe, and Bobo took a trip up there to the Breakfast Cafe. You want to check out Bobo's trip?
Sure.
Let's check it out.
All right.
I am here at the Breakfast Cafe in Haverhill, Massachusetts, and we are going to go inside. We are visiting comedian Amy T at her place of work here. And I think we got a special guest lined up for you today. All right, we're here with Amy T. What are we reviewing today, Amy?
We are reviewing the Harvest Omelet.
We got a harvest omelet. Let's take a look at that. And we have our special guest. What's your review, Bobo? Good review on the harvest omelet.
Is that you playing?
Good review on the Harvest Omelet. And
There you go.
I got to give plug to Amy's restaurant because when you go out to breakfast, everybody what do you want? Eggs, toast, home fries. She's really doing something different up there. I got an omelet. There was summer squash, there was carrots, there was zucchini, and this was all stuff I would have never thought about putting into an egg omelet. And I was like, that sounds so wonderful. Then I ate it, and it really was wonderful. So if you want different, take a trip up to the Breakfast Cafe. You'll get your money's worth up there. So, you in the mood for an omelet now?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, you're in the mood for some.
Anything that has to do with food. You don't get this
That's
big
right.
bite.
That's right. You're a big guy. You know what's going on around here. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we got some soy sauce over there. You want to open that up? A couple splashes of soy sauce in here, if you would, sir.
You want this way?
There you go. A couple splashes. A little more. 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 It's good.
All right.
We don't want to do too much, but we don't want it too little. We want some taste in here. All righty. Now, we got the magic of the whole thing here. We got some saute sauce. You want to open that up?
I look good in everything I eat, by the way. So
Well, when you're a big guy, you know how to eat.
be
Every time I
careful
order
so I don't
something,
get it all
everybody's
over me.
You know how to eat. I'm like, yeah, I didn't get this size because I don't know how to eat. Sure, I know how to eat.
yeah, I
Don't you worry.
didn't pack cow poop in my
Grab one of your
sneakers.
big spoons there.
One of these?
Bigger?
Bigger.
That's the good one. All right. Go ahead, put a heaping spoon of one of those right on in here.
Heaper. How's that?
little
You want
more.
some of the juice?
There you go. A little bit of the juice. Perfect. Right on in there. Little saute sauce.
There you
Magic's
go.
happening.
We done with this?
We're done with that. You can set that off to the side. A little bit more water here.
Yeah, I look good in everything I eat.
All right. So, Bob, I know. How long did you How long were you in comedy before you took a break?
12 years, maybe a little
12
longer.
years. How long did you take a break for?
12 years. I was waiting. I really was sick. I thought I was going to die.
Well, I'm glad you're still here with us and you're ready to try some of the saute.
Yes, sir.
Years from now, I know you're going at it. You look back on your comedy career. Well, what do you want to be remembered for? What are your goals? What do you hope to come? What are we going to remember Big Bob 4 years from now when he gets done comedy?
I would like to be remembered as being funny. I know it's not
always a
required
good
in the
thing,
business,
sure.
but it should pay off for me eventually.
Be funny, and I mean, is there anything you'd like to do, or?
I'd like to do, like all roads lead to Hollywood, maybe a movie. you know.
Hollywood, yeah, sure.
Yeah, because the residuals.
That always helps when you can
gotta
get
love
paid
the
to do what you do.
residuals.
But is there any major club you'd like to play that you haven't yet, or?
Yeah, there's quite a few actually. I'd love to do Caroline's in New York City.
Sure.
I'd like to get back into Nick's. I don't know if it's in the same place or not, but I always loved Nick's Comedy Stop in Boston.
Right.
And there's quite a few clubs right here in Boston. They got the new
It's a
Improv.
Mecca. Boston's a Mecca for
Yeah,
comedy.
it is. And not only that,
absolutely.
the comedians from Boston are well respected around the country too.
Oh, you get a lot of
reason.
respect.
Yeah.
I did a trip to Alaska, and they really treated me like gold up there in Alaska. They said, "You're from Boston," and they hooked me right up.
Yes, sir.
All right, you know our flour and water. We made our paste. If you want to take maybe half a spoon there and throw some of that right on in here.
Right in there.
Yeah.
All right.
We got our
gonna
slotted
let
spoon there, so you kind of.
Let it leak out. Yeah.
All right, put a little more in
All
there.
right.
Maybe one more of those should do the trick. That's wonderful.
All right. It looks good too. It's starting to smell good.
Yeah, that's the thing. When
The
you start to
smell will
get
get
the
me going.
smells, you know you're getting there. All right, Bob. People like to cook and people like to eat. And you can tell by
what
the
else
size
I
of
like-
both of
what
us.
I'd like to do with comedy is
What's
I'd like
that?
to travel around the country, and get the. I don't want to just go to a club and spend the night in the hotel and do the show. I want to be able to go different places in this. I love this country.
That was one of my goals too. You could sightsee and everything. And after going to Alaska and spending 20 hours on an airplane and 10 hours in airports, I said, maybe I'll bring the comedy to me. I could do without the traveling. But it was an experience. But there's a lot of work goes into traveling, doing comedy, and hitting the road.
But there's a place like you go up. They call it the county in Maine. If Maine was a chicken's head, it'd be that floppy thing on the top.
Sure.
But up in the county, I expected it to be what we call a hell gig.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't. The people were starved for entertainment, and they were glad you came up there, and I enjoyed myself. So, you talk about
Never
traveling
know,
20
yeah.
hours. A lot of times when you get up there, you have a great show.
Well, it was worth it. I'd do it all over again to go to Alaska, but it was a lot of work. So where can they find Big Bob? You got a website, Facebook, some shows coming up. Where can the people see Big Bob perform?
Actually, I have a show coming up, and I'm in a play October 1st in Amesbury, Mass. It's called Karaoke, which, if you know me, karaoke I always felt was so normal. People know what it feels like to have a bad set too.
Sure.
And then I'm also I'm doing the North Shore's Last Comic Standing on November 12th. And I'm also, I tried to get into the Boston Comedy Festival. I don't know if I'm in yet. They're going to let me know this week.
Good luck.
But yeah, those are some of the things I'm doing right around here.
Keep them busy.
Yes, sir.
That's
I try
the
to
trick.
do shows every week.
Mic time, mic time, mic time. Don't ever stop. A lot of
Yes,
people
sir.
sit around waiting for the phone to ring. You got to make it happen. Don't
No,
sit
you know
around.
what else I tell the new guys too is the same guys that were headlining when I first started in 1989 are still headlining. So if you want to do comedy, you need to make a spot for yourself.
You need to outwork everybody. Everybody
Yeah.
sees the stuff I'm doing. How do you do it? I outwork everybody.
Yep.
You know, you got to outwork. You ready for my favorite part of the show, Bob?
The eating part?
You know. Big guy knows
man.
the favorite part of the show, man. All right, we have a fork for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
We have a fork for me. We have a plate for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
We have a
Thank you.
plate for me. All right.
This is going to be good.
You have a little bit. We'll put a little bit for you.
All
Grab
right.
a little bit. Put a little bit for me. After you,
Yes,
sir.
sir. I'll trade that.
Ooh, a little hot. Be careful.
That's okay. Won't be the first time I burn myself eating.
It's worth it, right? Get some good food. You put up with the burn, right?
You did good.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
You like the spicy food?
I like tasty. Yeah.
Yeah. Spicy, tasty, good.
Tasty good is right. Thank
Hi,
you
Bob.
very much.
It is the Comedy Kitchen. We've done the cooking thing. Would you be nice enough to give the folks at home some of your stand-up?
Sure would. You want
Sure
to do
would.
it from right here?
No, we'll be right back in a minute.
All right.
All right. Welcome back. Now you know how to make the chicken and saute sauce, a great spicy dish you can enjoy with your family. Please check out my website, www.denniswirth.webs.com. Joke in the Box Comedy Club's one of the guys who's performed there before. I give you the comedy magic of my friend, Big Bob. Go get him, Bob.
How you doing? No, how you doing? Hey, forget about it. Actually, I was in New York City going up the elevator to the Empire State Building and with some Russian friends of mine. And they cost you $32 to ride this elevator. And they're not letting me touch any of those buttons. There's like 107 floors, and they're not letting me touch any of the buttons. They got a guy running the elevator. So I walk in, and I go, hey, how you doing? He goes, no, how you doing? I said, hey, forget about it. He goes, you do that better than we do. And he goes, that's Joey Tribbiani from Friends, right? It's like, nah, that's Ricky Corielli from Hoboken. He's a friend of mine. And, you know, they got a new Burger King commercial where this guy goes, how you doing? And the girl says, hey, forget about it. And she doesn't even try to do an accent or anything. But, you know, now that they're doing that, I either have to drop the bit or I have to come up with something new. So last week, I'm doing a show. I got my suit on Saturday night. I'm thinking, Ugats. Yeah, Ugats. You got to wear a suit on Saturday night or else you're not doing comedy. So I come up with Ugats. And it's like, Ugats to be a tie-in to come up with this stuff. You're not making it up on your own. So anyway, somebody gave me a hard time the other night about laughing at my own material. It's like, you know, I'm going to do this 10,000 times. If I don't think it's funny, I'm not going to keep doing it. So we covered it on the show, but they call me Big Bob. And when I first started doing comedy, everybody says, you don't want to call yourself Big Bob. You'll appear facetious. Then they used a lot of other 50-cent words on me, like pompous and grandiose and egocentric. But I think I'm better than that. Thank you. Intelligence, I like that in an audience. We don't get that all the time. So I just got my haircut the other day. You like the haircut? My barber goes, when I first go in there, first thing she does, she goes right for the eyebrows. 'Cause I'm turning into one of those American big feet, big foots, whatever you call them. Anyway, she goes for the eyebrows. She goes, what are you going to do about this gray? I said, well, hopefully it's going to come in and make me look distinguished. I get one of them young chippies looking for a father figure. Getting old socks. I asked if it was okay to say that, and it's the truth. Even everybody agrees, getting old socks. But, you know, I got hair in my ears and hair in my nose. That doesn't bother me, but it really makes me mad that it's gray. And my barber goes, you know, what are you going to do with this gray? And I told her, and, you know, you get these girls walking by, they're young, you know, and you want to pick them up. That's something that older people do. And I'm thinking, you know, that's going to hurt my back. All right, maybe you had to be there for that one. But getting old sucks. You know, I was up in Canada one time, and I was interviewing this 101-year-old woman on the 6 o'clock news. And the guy asked her, "Have you 101 years old? What's the best thing about being 101 years old?" And she said, "No peer pressure." And he says, 101 years old, what do you expect your future to be like? And she said, "Short." Thank you. And then, thank you. And then she goes, 101 years old, have you ever been bedridden? And she said, "Oh, hundreds of times. And twice on a dory." I don't think she understood the question, eh? When I was in Canada, I was up in doing a show at the Comedy Works in Montreal, and they speak French mostly in the Quebec province. And one thing I noticed about French people is they got a different word for everything. But I was doing a show one time in South Portland, and there was a table of about 10 people right in front of me, and they were laughing at the wrong part of the joke every time. And finally I said, "What is wrong with you people?" And apparently they were all from Quebec province, and the girl was going, "These people are all from Canada, and I'm interpreting for them." So that's why they were always a half a joke behind. That's my time is up. You guys have been great. Thanks for having me here. I'm bringing you back to your host, Dennis Wirth, but I'm just glad to have been on the show. Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks for being on, Bob. All right. I'd like to thank our studio audience. I'd like to thank the crew. Most of all, I thank you at home. Until next time, eat well and laugh, well, folks. Good night.
Thank you.